please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Sue Herrera, here's what's happening at this hour. In Washington, House Speaker Paul Ryan telling reporters any resolution to the status of young undocumented immigrants known as Dreamers must include stricter border enforcement.
While we deal with this DACA issue, which does need to be dealt with, and we agree with that, we want to make sure that we have the right kind of interior and border enforcement so that we don't have another DACA problem down the road.
5 people have been killed in mudslides from the first significant winter storm of the season in California. The storms brought heavy rains across that state, causing the mudslides from wildfire-scarred hillsides that swept away homes and blocked a key Southern California highway. Evacuations were ordered for about 700 homes in burn areas of LA County. Prince Harry and his fiancée, Meghan Markle, attracting cheering crowds to a London street corner. The crowd gathered to watch the couple arrive for an appearance at a youth-oriented radio station. It was their first public event of the new year. That's the news update this hour. I will send it back to you guys on the set. Brian, back to you.
All right, Sue, thank you very much. Well, the money rally just rolls right on, at least for stocks. Look at this. The Dow is up another 140 points right now. Boeing, once again leading, up nearly 3% just today. But something else to watch. Bond yields are also surging. The 3-year yield hitting its highest yield since 2007. The 10-year spiking to its highest yield since mid-March. So P.S. watch mortgage rates as well. And look at this. Oil here in America at $63 plus. That's the first time it's been above 63 since all the way back in December of 2014, guys. However, everybody's getting bullish on oil. Just 2 quick things to watch. Talking to people in the industry, reading industry notes. Availability of workers in the Permian and the cost of those workers. You're starting to hear companies make comments about labor costs rising.
So there's not enough of them.
Not enough. You got to pay them more to get them back out into the fields, and then maybe 63 doesn't look so appetizing.
And that's not the only field where that's happening. That's happening in construction. It's happening in lots of areas where there are labor shortages.
It's not a bad problem to have.
You know what that means? Higher wages.
Higher wages drives inflation.
And that might mean higher interest rates, which we're already seeing today, which is the big question, potential bugaboo about the market.
Could that mean
stock market.
5 rate hikes next year, or this year? Why did I say next year? This year.
Or a sell-off in the stock market.
Yeah.
If you see the 10-year rise.
Nothing's going to cost.
There's just a lot more good moving parts for us to chew over all year this year. Right? I think. Anyhow. Apple responding to pressure that it needs to address the problem of young people who have become, quote, addicted to their phones. And just a short time ago on Fast Money Halftime, we heard from the people applying that pressure. CalSTRS and JANA Partners. Josh Lipton joins us now. Josh?
Tyler, Apple is a socially responsible company, but on this issue, it could be doing more. That was the message from Apple shareholders today. In an exclusive interview with CNBC, JANA's Barry Rosenstein explained why he is specifically targeting Tim Cook's company.
There's no question that we need to be more responsive to children's needs and children's activities. And there's lots of research that has indicated that excessive usage of smartphones is damaging to kids.
But some have asked, why go after Apple when teens are actually spending so much time on YouTube, Facebook, video games? JANA's Charles Penner arguing that Apple is actually a natural place to start.
They are the gateway to a lot of these more problematic apps and sites. And it's like a hose. If you can squeeze the hose, you're not going to focus on every drop of water. You're going to try to squeeze the hose. And Apple's incredibly powerfully positioned to do that.
And Sheehan of CalSTRS also weighing in, calling this issue a potential risk for shareholders.
Teachers in the classroom see the impact that these students are suffering and having as a result of these iPhones and other telephones and other devices. So it resonated with CalSTRS.
Apple also formally responding to these shareholders, saying with today's iOS devices, parents have the ability to control and restrict content, including apps, movies, websites, songs, and books, as well as cellular data, password settings, and other features. Effectively, anything a child could download or access online can be easily blocked or restricted by a parent. Apple also saying that new features and enhancements are planned for the future. Guys, back to you.
All right, Josh, thank you very much. Let's stay on this story because when it comes to kids and smartphones, You folks have many strong opinions, most of them around the idea of parental responsibility. Make sure your kid isn't doing the wrong thing. We hear you. But here's the thing. Many of these apps are being used in ways they were never intended to be using, or maybe they were. CNBC contributor Jimmy Pethokoukis with the American Enterprise Institute. And more importantly than your role there at the AEI, Jimmy, is the small fact that you are the proud father of 7 children. 7. I'd love to know what your cell phone bill is every month, but that aside, you understand this wave. I made the comment yesterday that we were in the first inning of this discussion. Most people basically tweeted at me saying, mind your own business, let kids do what they want, and parents should mind their own kids. But do you agree there is going to be a growing backlash, or will this fade away like a Neil Young song?
Well, I mean, if you were going to look at history, you would say that it's going to fade away, which we have always had sort of these panics about new technologies, radio, television, internet, panics about, rock music lyrics. And so occasionally these come from time to time, but these technologies don't go away. Why? Because they're amazing. Not only are they amazingly useful, people just really like them, which is sort of reflected in the market capitalizations of these companies. So I think it is a weird panic that even though you're dismissive of the idea that parents need to do more, sure, parents need to do more. We need to educate kids on how to mind their time. Yeah. But beyond that, what is the alternative, Brian? Do you want to ban these phones for kids? I think some people might.
No, I don't think so. And again, I think there was a big misconception yesterday because there's 2 things. Most people seem to say, hey, parents, control your kids. Don't disagree with that one single bit. I think the reality, though, and many parents out there may agree with this, is that you can't control other people's kids. If you look at some of the cyberbullying statistics, right, the numbers are stunning. 55% of all teens who use social media have witnessed outright bullying. 80% of teens regularly use cell phones. 52% of young people report being cyberbullied. That according to many of the groups that track this. Half of kids out there, it used to be, Jimmy, when we were kids, Tyler, somebody bullied you, they had to do it to your face. And they risked getting a punch in the nose, if you know what I mean. I sound like I'm from the 70s. Now you can cyberbully kids, hundreds en masse, often anonymously. There is some control aspect here that we need, isn't there?
Well, listen, I think you see, should companies make it easier, one, for parents to monitor their kids?
Why do we need disappearing photographs? How about that? Start there. Unless you're an East German spy, what good is that?
I'm not going to question their business model, and I think time will tell whether these are sustainable products, whether they're sustainable business models. But listen, you're trying to pick this one example or that one company. When I think a lot of people are using this, I think very kind of politically conveniently to go after a sector which they probably also don't like for lots of other reasons. They think it's big and powerful. Maybe it's because I'm in Washington, so I immediately try to think about what else is going on here. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're seeing lots of these stories at the exact same time that a lot of people are worried more generally about the power of big technology companies.
I'm sort of allied with Brian on the idea. Why do we need disappearing photographs? Also, why do we need Cheetos? But
hey, don't get personal,
Jimmy. What? No, I'm not picking on Cheetos. Far be it from me to pick on Cheetos. What do you do at home, Jimmy? What do you do with your children?
For my youngest child, my son, we have lots of parental controls on what he can do. He doesn't have a smartphone or an iPhone, but on the computer we have lots of controls so I can monitor what sites he can go to. I can see what kind of web searches. But for the older kids, the teenagers, all I do is I talk to them. And I ask them to use their good sense, and we do it through conversations. I don't have any limits. I don't have any tracking devices on their phones or anything like that.
Where are you on the idea of looking at their texts? Do you insist that you be able to look at their texts?
I suppose theoretically I have that power. Maybe I have very good kids. I don't find that I've ever had to do that, or I've ever had a concern where I felt like I needed to do that. But I think there's a basic understanding that when push comes to shove, yeah, I can do that.
You mentioned, Jimmy, the issues that they face, all of these companies face in Washington. Tell us what you're hearing and what the risks are. I mean, it struck me yesterday when we were having this discussion with one of the professors involved that we were talking about phone addiction as if it were like a smoking addiction. Right. I mean, personally, but that just raises a whole level of threat against these companies that I'm not sure they were where it was coming.
Yeah, so the honest horribilis of 2017 is starting off real great for tech companies, which now we've gone from the fake news and Russia meddling, and now we've moved on to this. And by the way, addiction, that's maybe pundits like using that word, or maybe economists doing studies, but actual doctors don't use that word, so we have to be careful throwing around that phrase. Listen, I think there's at very minimum a lot of headline risk for these companies, because the movement to look very hard at the role big technology companies, the big mega platforms are playing in our country, both culturally, socially, economically, that's not going away, and that is going to be a daily, weekly battle, I think, forever.
Yeah, I don't disagree, Jimmy, and it's a conversation which is very personal. Everybody's got an opinion here, but there are the stats out there around teen depression, some of the cyberbullying stuff. At least it merits a fair and good conversation.
No, I think absolutely, but let's also not pretend that kids, teenagers and adults obsessing over things, being distracted by media. I mean, that is not new. And we like to pretend that each of these technologies is some amazing new thing. Yeah. And maybe this is different, but it's not the first time that we've seen these problems.
I'm sorry, what'd you say? I was checking a text. Jimmy, I'm kidding. I'm joking.
You're doing shtick. Great.
Jimmy Pethokoukis, good discussion. We'll get you back. 7 kids. Wow. By the way, we put out a poll on Twitter. Is it the app or software companies or phone companies' responsibility to help manage and protect kids' phone and app usage? 28% of you said, yeah, addiction is a risk, but look at that. 72% said, nope, it is the parents' job.
I got bullied on the bus when I was little. My mother said, hit him.
That's what I got. Look at these ears. Trust me.
Yeah.
And
hit him.
But you can't do that through a phone.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, the phone.
Well, we're not advocating punching anybody, by the way.
No, but it's true.
But there were times when it did work.
Hey, listen, a lot of us have Twitter feeds. The social media world emboldens people to say things that they would not say if they were sitting there right across from you, to your face. Mm-hmm. And sometimes when I've either gotten an email or something like that, I'll tell you what is the most disarming thing you can do is to pick up the phone and call that individual and speak to them. Because most of the time, they take a different posture.
They're mortified and embarrassed.
Well, listen, I'm sorry about that email, Tyler, okay? I was a little bit worked up that day.
Oh, that was you, was it? All right.
All right, see more of an all-new The Profit tonight, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on the Consumer News and Business Channel.
Yeah, Marcus always saying it like it is. All right, the huge consumer electronics show taking place in Vegas, and very few women among the keynote speakers. Julia Borston, she's a woman. She's live in Las Vegas. She's definitely key. Hey, Julia.
Hi, hello to you. Well, the Consumer Technology Association came under fire for not booking a single female keynote speaker. This, of course, after a year marked by accusations of gender discrimination and sexual harassment. The CTA responding by adding photos of women speaking on panels to its keynote page, featuring now the CEO and president of A&E Networks, Nancy Dubuque, and Kristen Dolan, who's CEO of ad tech company 605. The CTA defended its onstage lack of diversity last month, saying, quote, to keynote at CES, the speaker must head, president, CEO level, a large entity who has name recognition in the industry. As upsetting as it is, there's a limited pool when it comes to women in these positions. We feel your pain. It bothers us too. The tech industry and every industry must do better. Now, Twitter CMO Leslie Berland is hosting an alternative panel called hashtag Here We Are on Twitter stage at CES with a number of big names across advertising and also technology. Separately, another big headline out of CES this morning, Hulu announcing some significant growth. 17 million subscribers between its on-demand service and that streaming TV bundle that it launched last year. That's up 40% from the 12 million subscribers it announced back in May of 2016. Now it says it has a total of 54 million unique viewers. That's good news for Disney in particular, as it will get controlling ownership of Hulu as part of its Fox acquisition. Bob Iger has it'll expand and will build Hulu into a real rival for Netflix. So that's going to be a real interesting point for them.
All right, Julia, Alabama beating Georgia in overtime. Really a thrilling national title game last night. So how were the early ratings for the game?
Well, ESPN released some preliminary numbers, and they indicate a big jump in those college football ratings last night. ESPN says ratings for Alabama's overtime win over Georgia were up 9% the year-ago game. But the majority were watching on ESPN's flagship network. It drew 16 ratings, which makes the game the second most watched college basketball playoff game in the 4 seasons that we've had that format. We won't have official final numbers until this afternoon, but it still paints a very different story than what the NFL saw in its regular season. Those regular season ratings were down about 10% from the prior year, which is the second year of decline in regular season ratings. And the NFL wildcard games, they were down 13% from last year. Now, it doesn't mean that people are less interested in other pro sports. In fact, the NBA is having a really strong season with its ratings up by double-digit percentages. Back over to you.
Julia, thank you very much. Julia Borston in Las Vegas. However, it is standing by its outlook for fiscal year 2017. Joining us now, Jim Cramer with the CEO of ELF Beauty in a Power Lunch exclusive. Hi, Jim.
Thank you, Tyler. This is Tarango. Now, let's get this straight. You did change your long-term, you didn't change your long-term forecast, but short-term, you did some shading. Why?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, we're really excited to tell people that we're expecting in 2017 17% sales growth and over 50% EPS growth. We then said that for 2016 to 2019, our growth on a CAGR basis will be 10 to 15% for net sales and adjusted EBITDA. So still pretty incredible growth relative to the overall category.
But so you bring up an interesting point relative to the overall category. What the heck happened to your category? How did mass beauty sales weaken? Because to me, I always thought it was a kind of a secular growth theme.
Well, it is. I mean, if you look over the last couple decades, the great thing about mass color cosmetics is it's had consistent growth. But you will have periods where the category softens for a few quarters and then comes roaring back. What we're finding is we're putting really great growth rates up. Yet all anybody wanted to talk about was what was going on in the tracked category channel. And so it was +3 and went down to -3. And so that's what everybody wanted to talk about. And so what we decided to do is let's get that noise off the table. Let's reinforce that we're going to do 17% in 2017. Let's talk 10 to 15%, which regardless of where the category is, we feel really confident about being able to deliver. And let's get focused on what the fundamentals are, which, as you talked, are all about the consumer.
Well, I think, Duran, one of the things that's happened is that if you have a high price earnings multiple and you do anything to your guidance that's negative, you're going to get killed. But at the same time, what I see is more square footage in Ulta, big rollout. Walmart, 30%. Target, 28%. CVS, 9%. All of which I think you could get more square footage as the year goes on.
That's right. In fact, last year, Target rewarded us with more than 50% more space. Walmart with more than 20% more space. We're also particularly excited about the full chain rollout in Ulta in the first half of this year. And what we find with all of those customers is they love e.l.f. And they love e.l.f. because we bring new users into their category, incremental sales, and high productivity, as well as our new items. We're one of the innovation leaders in this category.
Well, let's talk about that, because I think you've got tremendous innovation in a sustainable way, but this is affordable.
That's right.
Affordable. And not a lot of companies are in that sweet spot of being fashion forward. But I love this term, masstige. Explain that to people.
Sure. So we've long been known for bringing high-quality, prestige-inspired innovation or cosmetics at an extraordinary value. In fact, our average unit retail price is around $3.50. So the masstige is we have mass prices, but the quality that you'd expect in a prestige product.
Now, there was a belief that you could do this 20% consistent, which is very, very hard to do. What would take it so that you could say that the dry spell in your category is over? What would it mean? The consumer has more money? What turns things around for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, as I mentioned, the category has historically been very strong. You will go through periods. There was a couple of years ago, skincare was down. Everyone was worried about skincare.
Right, I remember. Even at Estee Lauder, they were worried.
That's right, and they came roaring back.
Yeah.
We believe cosmetics will come roaring back, too. So I think if the category got stronger, you'd see us do something there, as well as, you know, one of the things that really drives our business is our new products. We introduced over 95 new products last year, and our consumer, our makeup enthusiast, absolutely loves that.
Right.
In fact, you're the inspiration on one of them. You'd actually talked about the selfie generation.
Yes!
And we have the glow on the go selfie light. And so basically what you do is you take this, you put it on your iPhone, and then it has 3 different lighting levels depending on how good you want to look, Jim Cramer. And you can take your selfie, and you and I can take one a little later.
Well, my 23-year-old will not know if I bring this home.
Oh, she will know. She will know.
No, I'm saying she'll think I bought it. That's the steal. Well, this is Tarang Amin. Okay, he's chairman CEO of ELF Cosmetics, ELF. The stock is down. It could be a bargain. Stay with you guys.
All righty. All right, Jim, thank you very much. We appreciate it.